call this meeting to order, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. First on our agenda, we have approval of minutes. We have 3 sets here. We have public and non-public from May 23rd, and we have the retreat from June 4th. So, entertain a motion to approve those.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of 5/23, public and non-public, and the retreat on 6/4.
I'll second.
Okay, definitely second. All right, we'll start with the 23rd. Any comments on that one? The public? Or non-public for that one for the 23rd? Any comments on the retreat minutes? They look good? I didn't see it. They look good to me.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. All right. No further comment then. All those in favor of approving, wait, do you want me to break these into the 2 dates?
I abstain.
You're going to abstain from the 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do the 23rd. We'll split this motion then. All those in favor of approving the minutes, public and non-public, for the 23rd, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Yeah, Hope abstains. And then for the public, the retreat, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the public retreat, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And abstentions? Bruce, do you want to abstain from that?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Now with that fun stuff out of the way, public comment. Any public comment tonight?
I'm good.
Not now? All right.
Tim, I will say that Vicki contacted me.
Okay.
She's unable to get out of work today.
Ooh. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Student representative, they are not here tonight, as I can imagine, with the end of school being crazy. Communications committee, we have that on our agenda here.
So you have the minutes in your packet. We had our last meeting on June 1st. We're doing well with YouTube subscribers. Check it out if you have not already. The Mass Roman Schools YouTube channel. There's some for incoming students that I thought was really helpful for students and for parents. And yeah, so we talked about the committee goals for the retreat, which we have later in the agenda. So our next meeting will be on August 3rd.
Okay. Any questions on that? The only thing I want to add, when we get this in our board goals part, is that we discussed kind of changing the title of the name of the committee to better reflect what we do. So it has a lot more to do with technology than it initially did, so we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah.
All right, finance and facilities. We have our motions here, and we have our minutes here. Let's give a quick brief rundown. Corrado gave us his update. Talking the St. Mary's Church parking lot, that is in Canaan, across from the elementary school, where the teachers park and visitor parking and stuff. And there's been a large puddle, erosion of the asphalt, making it very unsafe. So Corrado's been talking to the town about that. He had to go back and forth with the state because the town says it's not their responsibility, and the state says yes, it is. So he's working on that. He also got the crosswalk light. He can get that taken care of for the state equipment key, and then talking about shuttle buses and having stuff ready for graduation here on Friday. So we should definitely promote shuttle buses. It won't be as big if it's going to be inside, which is nice in a little way. So that'd be good. And then just getting ready for summer programs at Canaan and IRS. Finance didn't have an update on the capital improvements. Did the year-end requests from audits. Unpaid lunch balances have gone down from the last report, so that's good. We got some USDA guidance on how to help schools collect the balances. And then in a big surprise to me, so we talked about how we did not get the seamless summer option for meals this summer. So where we have in the last 5 years?
At least.
At least 5 years.
Maybe
We've been able, maybe longer, I don't remember, but we've been able to provide free lunch throughout the summer out of EVS and Canaan. But then when they ran the numbers this year for income requirements and stuff, we no longer qualified. So Is that right? It's based on income?
It
free
is
reduced?
based on income. Deb was able to, when we first applied, she was able to get us qualified because we were in a food desert.
Oh, yeah, that's what.
So, yeah, so we are no longer in that. I believe it was the addition of maybe Jake's or something like that,
Yeah.
another grocery store, the dollar stores that have popped up since then. Have now put us out, but we're looking at other ways to be able to provide that service to our kids this summer.
So we're going to figure out a way to do something. So, talk about bus routes and stuff. We would like to see a draft of the routes by July 25th from Butler, and then we can approve them in early August. Really talked about keeping elementary separate from the middle and high school routes, except for those very far out ones. We'll see with the addition of vans what that looks like. Talk about this. Start driver's ed. We will need a third driver to accommodate everybody registered, so we have posted that position. Just talk about policies. I did come up with a draft policy for bikes and e-bikes, and we discussed that a little bit, and I'll bring that back. And we talked about the Green Schools Alliance that folks are going to look more into. So that is what we did. Any questions on that?
We have had, I know that there have been questions from parents about whether or not there will be buses for graduation. So it will be good to get that information
Can we
out.
put that on the sign?
Yeah.
I think?
Yep.
Like shuttle buses, CEBS, yeah. And maybe the YouTube stream, like not the whole link obviously, but like watch graduation on YouTube. Anything they can do to get, especially if it's going to be inside.
Yeah.
The link will be on Facebook when we post for graduation.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah. Yep.
Here's the thing I've been telling people too, is like, YouTube, you type in Maximum Schools, it's right there.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's right there. So
Mhm.
hopefully they are accustomed to it already. So
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, shuttle buses for graduation is going to be very important, as it has been. So
Yeah, and those are donated by Butler's Bus.
oh well, thank you very much,
So
Butler.
just for the record, so you'll know that Butler's Bus has donated two buses to run those shuttle
Wonderful.
routes for us.
Very nice.
And do we know, probably not the time for this question, but do we know when the final decision will be made on inside versus outside? Will it be like the day before?
It will be
or
probably
day
not till Friday.
Okay.
They
10
want
minutes,
to,
10 minutes.
we're holding fast to hope that we
Yeah.
can continue to hold it outside.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Bring an umbrella.
Yeah, bring
I
an
have many
umbrella.
umbrellas in the cars.
And as long as it's not lightning and it's not a downpour,
Oh,
I think
it's this
people are-
Friday? It's this Friday?
Yeah.
You guys be all right.
we'll cross your fingers, everybody. So,
Yeah.
We still have a big tent, right?
we do have a big tent, but not enough for everybody.
If we can get the seniors covered.
Yeah, we could cover
Yeah.
the
The
class.
stage
yeah,
and
I'm
the
sure they'll have a
hazards.
plan for that.
They
Yeah,
might.
I haven't gotten too into the details of it, trying to stay out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. All right. And also, I heard Lebanon had theirs under tents. So it was very hard for people to see. That's
True.
because
Yeah,
like all the
outside,
graduates were under a tent, so you could.
They're up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Superintendent's report.
so you do have my report in your packet.
Mm-hmm.
You will see that we have a transfer of administration, so April Guinness will be headed over to Canaan Elementary School as the interim principal for the year. We are still working to fill positions. I think since I wrote this report, EVS is down to perhaps one part-time para. We'll now need an interim associate principal at IRS, a fifth grade teacher. We've recently had another resignation, so a sixth grade teacher opening will be there. With April, she had already previously resigned her athletic director or athletic coordinator role or responsibilities at IRS. At the high school, we're still looking for an athletic trainer, a math teacher, and a couple advisors, as you'll see. And district-wide, we're still looking for a business administrator and some substitutes. I also note on the bottom of my report, just in case you're contacted by anyone from the town of Canaan, that 2 Canaan officials have contacted me in the last recent couple months to ask about altering the school calendar. Well, no, it would involve altering the school calendar,
Yeah.
but they would like to hold voting at the Canaan Elementary School. There are multiple issues that go along with that. The first and foremost to me being that we've already put out the calendar that had been approved. So if that is something that they'd like to think about, I've encouraged them to come here and approach you all. If you all direct me to change the calendar, I would certainly do that. But I think it would be better if they had a little more preparation and we looked at, not next year, but if they wanted to vote out of the schools, voting out the year after that. Just gives us a little more time to prepare for that. Hopefully they have another venue. I guess it's no longer conducive for them to run out of the firehouse. But they did think they had another venue that would potentially work for them. So, just in case any of you are approached, or if someone from the town of Canaan should happen to come to one of these meetings, you all would be in the know.
All right. Yeah, as we've already set the calendar, I'm just thinking about elections, it wouldn't be this fall, but it'd be for the March, is what they're looking for.
They told me
Yep.
2 days, so
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It would
yeah,
be 2
well,
days.
March and November is really,
Yeah.
those are probably the 2 dates, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they want to come back and,
Primary.
yeah, oh, primary too, that's right, you're right. But that might be in the summer sometime. No, September.
No, I remember.
It's in September.
Presidential primary.
Oh, the presidential primary, you're
January.
right. I remember that. I
I
try not to remember them. But yeah, I mean, for the 24-25 school year, we can look at that, but I think it's too late to do it for the 23-24 school year, because we've already set the calendar, so.
And where are they holding their town meeting?
It's in the safety, is it called the safety?
Usually
What's it called?
near the
mean
fire
like the
station
select board
or the
meetings?
police.
No, I
Or like-
mean like
oh,
the
deliberative.
annual town
That's one of the
meeting.
Yeah, we have
The
deliberative.
deliberative session
We're
at
SB2, so
school.
we, in Canaan Elementary, but it's on Saturday.
On a Saturday,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It works there on Saturday. Yeah, because this Canaan's not set up to be able to like have kids and voters coming in at the same
That's
time.
right.
It's not.
Yeah, it's,
All right.
Is it during,
Good to know.
during the week, right?
Yeah, it would involve us closing the school.
Yeah, and just the one school, so that's another issue. Maybe field trips for everybody that day. All right. Anything else, Amanda?
No, I do
Okay.
not have anything else.
Any other questions for Amanda on that? And anything else there? Okay. Business administrative reports.
Yeah, my written report in the packet. As we're winding down to the end of the fiscal year, we're trying to project what our the fund balance will be. And it's looking like about $840,000. And from that, we'll also take our warrant articles of $280,000. So we won't know the exact number until we do next week's payroll and close out some more encumbrances from purchase orders as we head towards June 30th. I've also included a draft list of fund retention projects for this year. When I wrote my report, it was at $69,000, but that was a week ago when people kept talking about it, and the more you talk, the longer the list gets.
All right.
So now we're up to just under $100,000. Some of that is, one of those things is a 14-passenger van, because we're gonna have to replace the one we have eventually. Hopefully we can get another year out of it, but it would be starting to think about replacing it, or even just having an extra van for student transportation uses, because sometimes there's a little bit of a fight about who's reserving it.
Mhm.
So, and as we mentioned before, the seamless summer option is not available to us anymore due to the reconfiguring of the eligibility requirements. So, Cafe Services has put together a proposal for making sure that we can provide breakfast and lunch for the summer programs this year.
And that's a quote from Cafe Services. They figured out a way to do it for that.
Yes, so we gave them some rough enrollment numbers,
Yep.
and they, projected what it would cost. So.
Cool. All right. Questions for Rob? No? Alrighty. Thank you for this list. This helps a lot. Being able to see like what can we do for the last, in the last end of the year and get taken care of. And this is all crucial stuff. So
Yeah, and that's a draft. I'll have an
Yeah.
absolute final one for the next board meeting.
cool.
so the list was actually calculated in the budget? Or is this a wish list?
Those are things that were projected to be done this year, and we're going to retain funds from this budget year into the next year
That we did not
that we did not
get to.
spend yet. Yeah.
All right.
But I don't understand, there's a vehicle, or two vehicles on here. Why didn't we purchase vehicles?
We did not have in the budget the money to purchase the vehicles, nor did we anticipate that we would have such difficulty with busing as we've had this year, especially to sports trips and other venues. So right now, sometimes I'm sending kids for a 4 o'clock game. They're leaving here at noon, so that and then they're waiting at the other school for an hour or two before they go, because I just don't have a way excuse me, to transport them unless we send them really early. So this is an ask that we retain $50,000 so that we could purchase a 14-passenger van so we could better transport our kids. We're also at a point where the van that we currently have isn't really safe. It's really at the end of its life. We'd be looking at potentially keeping it together for different, like if we needed to transport certain materials or the small trips, but we wouldn't want to put kids in that van and take it long distances. It's already broken down on us a couple times.
You wouldn't trade the old one in?
Eventually we would, or, maybe even this year, but at this point I did look at some 14-passenger vans at the very minimum. For something from, that's 4 or 5 years old, you're still looking at $50,000 to $60,000.
Yeah.
So it really does turn into a safety issue for our kids. It's safety with them not missing school, it's safety with them not waiting at other schools, it's safety in the actual driving to and from places.
Butler isn't able to accommodate that part of it?
They just don't have enough drivers, right? So they can't do those charters. We've taken priority and given it to the school runs, to the, the regular bus routes. So the drivers have to run the kids early and then come back so that they're back in time to run their regular route at 3 o'clock.
So pretty much everything on this list, aside from the van and the summer meals, is, it looks like a lot of safety replacements, a lot of security replacements like secure doors, and exterior access control, stuff like that.
Yeah, some of these things were, like the doors, for instance, are cost double, right? So I like to joke with Corrado and tell him, 3 years ago, you could buy 2 doors for $7,000. Now you can only buy 1 door for $7,000. So we've had to just not do some of the projects because some of them are double doors, and so we do need extra funds to be able to do those doors.
Okay.
And I won't talk specifically about which buildings
Right.
have failing doors,
No,
but we
let's
do
not
have
do
some
that.
buildings with failing doors.
No. But no, this is all good security. So this is all stuff that needs to be done. So.
I have a question on the bus.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I like on the, when you go look at the monthly financials, the special education, that's way over.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to provide relief potentially to that?
No.
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 Because that was that's really over.
It's
Yeah.
incredibly over, and I can attribute that to, what we had to do with Butlers is they had typically done a run to one of our out-of-district placement schools. We sent 5 or 6 kids to one place, and we do need a wheelchair-accessible van to do that, which means you need to have a CDL driver, so it can't just be a regular driver for Butlers. So they had typically been doing that run for us, and then we needed that driver to run routes, regular morning AM and PM routes. So she was pulled from there, and Butler was not able to. That's an extra run that Butler had been doing for us to help us out. And so when she was pulled, they just weren't able to find someone else with a CDL to do that. So that was unfortunate. It was an extreme added cost.
So then we had to find a third party that could do
That's
that.
correct.
All right. Any other questions on that? On this, for Rob or for anything else? Alrighty. Let's see. Up next, I have updates from Canaan Police Department. I presume you have something, Amanda?
They will be coming to the next meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll table that till next.
We'll table that one till the 27th.
Do you have any ideas of what they were going to talk about?
I think just an informal update, just to touch base.
Okay,
So
cool.
just a pure update to let you guys know what's going on.
All right, sounds good.
We give out tickets for everybody speeding through.
That's right. But I know he did want to ramp up enforcement, in the beginning of school, the month of September. He wanted to more concentrate on that area, just to remind people that we're back in school and stuff like that. So, yeah, see what he has to say. All right, updated high school athletic handbook. We have that for approval. Now we already approved one, but this is an edit update, right?
Yay, Steve is here.
Yeah, I saw
Here he
Steve
is.
sneak in, so I figured that's what he was here for.
You-
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. You want to talk about what's different?
By the video there.
So we mostly just talked about we had a committee get together and talk about our drug and alcohol policy, trying to get that sort of, I guess, in line with the majority of the other schools around. And so we looked at changing the, I guess, punishment, for lack of a better word, for if a student is caught. For example, we have a lot of kids. Unfortunately, the vape has become the new thing, so I'll use that as an example. A kid gets caught with a vape, and what the punishments have been and what we were proposing they could be. We're also looking at trying to get sort of a buyback, if you will, in there. We want kids to be able to sort of earn some of their time back. One of the biggest concerns that was brought to us by parents, that was brought to us by other people in the district, have been the when they're out of 5 games, and that's what our current policy states. They're out for a third of the season, which for a typical season like a soccer, basketball, field hockey, those types of seasons are those run around 16 games. So you're looking at about a 5 to 6 game suspension, and the kids sort of, that's a huge piece for them, and it really kind of shuts them down. And we were hoping that with the idea of trying to get them to sort of earn some of that back. So we put into the new policy the idea of if they do some additional drug and alcohol counseling, they could earn a couple of games off of their suspension. If they did some community service, they could earn some time off of their suspension. So we kind of put forth an idea of it, not really necessarily, because we found that when we researched around, ours was pretty high. Like there's a majority of the schools in the area, the punishment that goes along with this, the suspensions and so forth, were very high compared to a lot of other schools. And so we thought, well, we'll keep that suspension about the same as it is. I think, if you look through what we presented, we actually kind of put it up 1 game from what currently would be a 5-game suspension for a 16-game season up to a 6-game suspension. But then they're earning time back by doing some of the other things that we had already had on our punishment list. They were already having to do some community service. So this way, if they do that community service, they're kind of earning back some time off of their suspension. And so that way, we're kind of bringing it back down into the realm of what a lot of the other schools have for suspension, but by doing it, allowing them to kind of earn time back to get there. At schools such as Sunapee, if I remember correctly, Sunapee's, they sort of say that, like, you're done for the season, but then they get major ways to earn themselves back down to, like, I think 2 games at the end of the road. And so the one we presented is kind of for the bigger seasons, the 16-game seasons that earns it down, they could earn their way down to a 2-game suspension. And if it's a football, like where they only have 8 games, they can earn their way back down to just one game if they do everything that we've presented.
Okay. If you're looking for where it is, it's on page 14 and 15. Yeah, go, and anything else, Steve? Or you get for questions?
Kind of the general, I mostly came for questions.
Good, okay. Yes, go ahead.
So what's your process for approval on the community service part of it? And also, who's going to supervise that it's actually done and then sign off on it?
So the hope is that, like, when a student comes, they'll come to me and they'll say, I'm going to do my community service with, like say down at the Hughes Park over the summer or something like that, working with the kids down there. Then the person who's running that would kind of supervise and sign off that they did it. And then, that would be brought to me where I'd look and say,
But I know this is just an example, but that's not like current. If they're in a suspension during the school year, they can't propose to do a service project in the summer.
Right, so they could go to,
Senior Center,
Senior Center, I was thinking, listen,
Okay.
anything.
So
Friends of Mascoma, yeah.
another suggestion that I have is that there be a list of acceptable suggestions that they can choose from before they get too far derailed on it. Because the reason why the stipulations were strict to begin with is because it was across the board. It didn't matter whether you were in a sports program or not. It was for everybody that was brought up on this idea that you're doing something wrong and the punishment was equal across the board. So I foresee that because the athletic program is allowing the earn back time, I think that's great, but I think it's got to go across the board to all students. And we've got to have a standard for it. And that's the reason why you'd have to have this form to say, okay, you want to do this, you want to earn back your time, it's got to fall into these categories, it's got to be done by this timeline, and it's got to be approved and signed off so that it's all right there out in black and white.
Okay, so this policy is actually just for athletics. These kids are getting this punishment, I guess, for lack of a better word to put it, above and beyond the suspension that they would get from the school along with it. This is just because you're an athlete, you're held to a higher standard, and we currently give them a much higher punishment. That's on top of anything that the school doles out. We're not trying to change that. So a non-athlete and an athlete will all get the same, whatever it is, 5-game suspension, or 5-day suspension from school, or whatever it turns out to be. That's not getting effect. That's still in place. We're talking about the athletic policy, which is on top of that. Our kids, our athletes, have to also serve this extra punishment. So
And
we're
does it,
trying.
like missing these games and being out the 5 days is a separate thing for the athletic program?
Yes.
It's
So in
carried
addition to
beyond-
whatever-
Above and beyond.
So that is, yeah, so if a kid, any kid in this building gets in trouble, they're all gonna get a, whatever it is, suspension from school. That, every kid's still gonna serve. That's not, we're not talking about that policy at all. This is a policy that the athletes have to do above and beyond that. And so because this is an above and beyond thing, we are looking to kind of bring that down a little bit because they're getting that punishment on top of anything that they may have to serve through the police. Some of them, depending on the situation, may end up having to go to a diversion program, so they're serving time there, so to speak. They're doing their punishment here through the school because they got suspended for 5 days because of whatever. And then they also get this, because they're an athlete, we're holding them to a higher standard. They then have to also serve 5-game suspension, and they have to do community service and that. So we're trying to bring that just the athletics piece of it kind of down a little bit into check with what we see the other schools' sports programs doing.
Well, I still think we need to equalize it because you could be a student that is going to screw up at the end of the year and be suspended for 5 days, and maybe it's going to affect their testing, what's going on and stuff like that, and they've got the option to earn back time like the athletic program.
But the athletes can't earn back time unlike their school suspensions.
But if you're suspended during
They
the
can't play a
testing,
game then
They can't
during
play
that
games.
time.
So like if there's, let's say they get caught with a vape and they're suspended for 3 days, every kid in the building gets that. And they can't earn that back, like, no matter what. Like,
okay.
that doesn't change. This doesn't change that. This has to do with their athletic only punishment.
But a student that's suspended can't pick and choose the 3 days, is what
No,
I'm
and neither
saying.
could the athlete either.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the athlete and the student are exactly the same in that lane, but then once the athlete starts
Okay.
doing other stuff, like the athletics, they have additional ramifications of their
So
decisions.
it's the same analogy would be if a co-curricular activity, if they had to
Yes.
miss a music
Mhm.
recital.
Yeah,
But they were done their suspension, but then couldn't go to the music recital.
yeah, that would be,
But
Yeah.
that doesn't happen.
So hope that, and Kathleen, I think you're both,
Yeah.
you're touching on concerns that Steve and I have already had a discussion about, is that there does need to be that equity, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
yes, we want to think our athletes are, held to the standard, but why can't I hold my drama kids or my other
Yeah.
co-curricular kids
Mhm.
to that same standard? And it gets a little trickier, right? If I suspend you for 3 days of a play, you might miss all 3 days of the play
Yeah.
or of rehearsal.
Right.
So Steve is going to work next year with, some of the co-curricular advisors, with the drama advisors, with the kids. He did have kids on this committee too, to give input.
Okay.
So he's going to pull them together and we'll look at that and how we're adapting that. My vision would be an athletic or just a co-curricular handbook,
yeah.
right? I think Danielle, you had talked about that.
That'd be nice.
So that it's not just athletics, it is holding all of our kids to say, if you're representing us outside of school hours, whether that's in the marching band, or, you know, in a team sport or an interact club when you're at the elementary schools, we're gonna hold you to a high standard, and that's gonna be equal across the board. So that is a work in progress, and we will be moving forward with that next year.
And this has more restorative justice, like,
Yes.
and I like, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
That's a good shift
Yeah,
from.
kids make mistakes.
Especially for
Exactly.
students.
And
Yeah,
then-
they're-
Yes.
I noticed also that the second offense and third offense, there is not wiggle room. Like,
Yeah.
you get that big pass that first one, you earn back your time, but you do it again, you're not getting any, like, you have to do an in-person counselor, you miss 50% of your season, that's the second offense. There's no turning time back up. So I like that you set it up, you're like, this is your path, like, this is your chance, like, turn your
And
car
there
around.
was a lot of other things that came up, like some schools, like we do, it's all 4 years. So this is if you get busted again next year and so forth. There are some schools that they're only held accountable for 1 year at a time.
Mm.
There are some schools that are only for that season.
Mm.
So it really is all over the board. And so that's why one of the things that I had kind of put in here and was hoping that you guys would go along with is the idea of we're still going to stay with the 4 years here at Mascoma, but if you're clean and don't get yourself in trouble again
Nose clean.
for 365 days, you then get to start back at step one. So if you mess up again, say 2 years later, you're now at step one again. You don't, and you can kind of earn some time back and so forth. You don't go automatically to missing half of because that's a long time
That could be
for
detrimental,
some of these
yeah.
kids. And again, if I'm trying to, my charge was sort of to try to make this equitable as much as I could with local schools, and knowing that really they are so far all over the place. I felt like that was one way to kind of keep us in the middle, I guess, and kind of allow kids that idea of, we all make our mistakes. A lot of times we have our kids come in as freshmen, and that's when they make that big mistake the first time they get caught with a vape pen or something. And then, they're good for a year, 2 years. And then they get busted again as a senior. Should they really be, I think that's that idea of kind of earning some stuff back. If they've been good for an entire 365 days, and then they get busted again, I like the idea of, well, you're still in trouble, but we're going to bring you back down to step one for your, for
Yeah,
your,
hopefully we won't see tons of repeat offenders like that,
That is-
and that would be a case-by-case basis, like what's going on with that kid. Yes.
And this applies to the entire year, not just the season. You mentioned that some other schools do that, but it
Yes,
does,
we're-
including summer.
yes, and that was a big
Yeah.
question mark was,
Yeah.
how do we hold them accountable for the summer or do we not? And there are schools that do and schools that don't. So our thought was we keep it what we currently have, whereas they are accountable if you're an athlete all year long, over the summer included, but we're given that idea of, we understand that's a lot for these kids. And so we are going to kind of give them, if you've been good for a whole year, and then you get busted again, which we're hoping you're not, but we can understand, so we'll bring you back down to step one.
Don't you have them sign their summer form before the season starts, any sport they play in, with the parents?
Yeah, that was part of the family ID sign off. There's like 5 things that they have, and that's one of the things they sign off on.
And who makes the decision on, who makes the decision on what they're gonna get suspended or not get suspended? Is there a committee or what?
Suspended or not suspended from athletics?
Yeah, I'm talking just strictly athletics, all right, the athletic people. I mean,
So if
in other
they-
words, you got a questionable thing, and it's like somebody said, well, there's some stuff. I'll give you an example that happened years ago. There was somebody else had some stuff in the duffel bag, and it was football players and blah blah blah. And it wasn't his stuff, and so all 3 of them, because one, who makes. They investigate all this stuff, but who gets? I don't understand. Do you have to give them a hearing? Do you give them investigate, but then do you give them a due process to explain this? Because it might be something that, in the case that happened years ago with the football thing, the stuff was in the duffel bag wasn't his, but it's his bag. So they all got hauled in and they got
I
suspended.
think that's just part of like what Tina does in her
Right.
job. is like
Well, what I'm
investigate.
trying to ask is Who oversees this process?
Tina does, the principal
principal.
and assistant principal. Like any punishment, I don't get involved in any way, shape, or form
But there
until
is a,
she has done due process, the kid has gotten in trouble and is serving their school suspension or
but
whatever else.
before they,
Then she sends it to me and says,
yeah.
one of our athletes has gotten in trouble, and then I put into play the athletic policy.
Well, they get in a fight on a bus, all right? You go through a process and you discuss what happened on the bus trip back, on the athletes, that something happened on the way back on the trip, so you end up, what I'm getting at is, you do an investigation, you bring the people in, and before you suspend anybody, that's what I'm trying to ask you, what do you have for a process to get this, to get all the, find out what really happened,
Any of these things go to Tina and Rick. They're the ones that deal with any kind of breaking the school policy. And then they go through their due process and they interview the kids and
And then they either get suspended or they can have a recourse, they can appeal or whatever.
You just get the update
I just
after.
get that whole policy, that whole thing's been done, due process has done its course, and they have found that a kid is in trouble.
Mhm.
That's when she'll come to me and say, one of our athletes has been caught with a vape.
And then they got to meet with you.
And then I put the letter together, send it to the parents, the kid comes in, meets with me,
Yep.
all that stuff. But I don't do any of the investigating on that unless it's something that I was privy to. If I was on the bus, then Tina might pull me in as part of the due process. But yeah, that's the principal and assistant principal do all that. I just dole out the extra athletics punishments.
But Rooster, that is a good point,
Yeah.
because that would be typical during the school year. But then when it's something, because this to me is a 365 days, so
Mhm.
even when you have kids not in session, no one is doing due process for the kids, or we would not be giving a school penalty if a student was caught vaping over the summer, right? We would
I think
not do that.
what I was really thinking for summertime stuff was if somebody hosted a party and there's a bunch of our athletes there and the
Yeah.
police came and arrested a bunch of them. And then that way they're known, there's a record, like the police do their due process on it, and then we can say, look, this happened over the summer, you're an athlete, this is your punishment on the athletic side. Right? Am I reading that right?
I think you get a little
Or
sticky there when
photos.
you're talking about minors and
Yeah.
minor arrest
No.
records.
I know.
And
You can't get into that. You can't,
Or photos, like you
you
said,
can't get
yeah.
into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
No, I was saying you gotta have a what I was trying to find out is you have a due process, but you also, before you hand out the penalty, you gotta be able to, bring the people in and have the parties discuss what happened, and if it's gonna get penalized, then they gotta be able to have, if they dispute it, they gotta be able to have some kind of,
Right, that's what they do with Tina.
well, but that's not the only person that should be involved. It should be more than one person.
Yeah, right.
allow for them
More than Rick.
to have a hearing, an appeal.
You should have that, because I think it's really serious enough. The second offense, you shouldn't even get to that second offense, and if you do the due process before the season starts, and you tell them, athletes, you get teams that athletes, they sign this thing, and they know what the penalties are, they're not gonna do any of this crap, okay?
But they are now.
Well,
With harsher penalties, they're doing it now.
Yes.
Well, I'm just trying to say all right, I don't know what they're doing here, okay? So I'm just trying to explain to you what other schools, I've seen other schools, they put the hammer down, but they also give them a due process, and they show up. They do this before the season now. That's what I'm trying to get at. They have a document that they sign. It's almost like a legal document before the season starts and the sports officiating. And they sign it, the coaches will oversee it or whatever, the parents sign it, and then you don't have that. You don't have that
Yeah,
crap.
we do. It's the athletic handbook.
So,
Well, no, it's not just athletic handbook. No, I want more than just athletic handbook. I want, if Stebbins is going to do all this, if you're going to do all this for each sport, I would like to see you come up with a form to have all the athletes sign this. Sign a form when they go. Don't they sign something?
They do, as part of family
They
ID.
do, but it's on Family ID, and maybe because it's online, and the reality is the world we live in, when you see something, you just
Scroll
Click
and
and
click.
click sign, and I've signed my kid up I bet half the parents don't even know what they just clicked and signed for. And so maybe we have to, with this one, go back to putting it on a piece of paper and actually have somebody physically put an autograph on it. So
You're gonna be respectful, you
Yeah,
show up,
feel
you show up
for
at games, you dress properly, you show up, you're representing the school, you do the whole nine, you give them the threat of God that you're part of this Mascoma thing. If you wanna be an athlete, you are held to an upper standard, and you need to do this all the time. What you do in the summer, I'm not gonna be out there policing them, find out what's going on. I mean, but what I'm saying is athletes, and I know, I do a lot of sports officiating, I'm not getting into all this, but I know which schools put the hammer down when I go officiate, because they're great, and the kids don't act up on the bus, they don't disrespect the officials, they don't disrespect anybody, and they don't get in trouble. And they're the teams that are usually doing pretty well. I mean, I didn't hear anything from the basketball team this year, at all, period. You know, I mean, both teams. You know, I didn't hear anything on the football.
Good.
So, I mean, track, I've heard great things about them. I mean, all this sports fishing, but if you come up with a form, and here, you're going to sports night, fall night, everybody signs this form. Sign this form and make sure these kids know that. Tell the coaching staff, if you haven't signed that form yet, I want to make sure we don't have any trouble. When's the last time you got a sportsmanship award on this gym?
we have
Right.
You haven't. So you can get one of those if you do something like that and work your butt off to get them to be respectful. The time you leave the school to go play away games, you won't have that trouble. You won't have to worry about suspending anybody. I just don't see. I don't want to ever see anybody get a second offense. That's almost, you might as well get the third penalty, because, you know.
Hopefully with the amount of work that they have to do in the first offense, they realize this is not worth it.
I don't think his first offense is worth what it's on there. I don't like the first offense, to tell you the truth. I think it's too, well, that's what's in there, but it's too, we've gone through that in other seasons, and it's too tough. It's too tough, I think, because, you know, I think it's too tough.
Well, I think if they know what they're signing up for when they get into it, they know that those are the penalties of their choices. And that's what this is. This is all has to do with penalties of the choices they make. And yeah,
Well,
teenagers, they make dumb choices sometimes.
That's my opinion on that, because, you know,
I mean, one of the things of, you know, I've appreciated that Mr. Stebbins has tried to institute a required attendance at the seasonal info sessions, and so maybe it's a time to get a hard copy reinforcement there. If you're gonna have everyone there, because you're mentioning, you know, conduct and sportsmanship and all that as part of the in-person info nights that everyone's has to attend or has to make up separately with you. So that reinforces the fact that here are the things that, you know, that you've signed up for, and
Well, the explanation that why it's so important to your culture.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you have
you
to-
connect those dots. What's Brewster's talking
They
about.
have to get a physical done. It's just not any different than getting a physical done, right? You gotta go to the doctors, get a physical done. You gotta go to get a doctor to get a concussion. If you get this piece of paper before you start the season, you get the physical done, and you get that sign saying, I am gonna do this to uphold standards, then the kid's got it, and he knows.
And the parents sign
Like-
it?
and you can
They
call
are
it
signing.
the sports contract. I mean, that was
That's-
the terminology
that's
when we were in school, right?
Right.
Is you had a contract that you signed every
And they
season.
are signing that, they're just
Right.
signing it digitally,
Right.
and I agree, I think we may need to say,
They're not
I
listening.
think because it'll be new.
Whether they sign it or not, but it's really, it's like, we have to explain it.
Right, yeah. And then
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
for the next season, like next full year, it's look, this is the new policy, this is how we're doing, I want you all to understand, this is how it is, and you're gonna sign this, that you acknowledge that this is the process, and I don't wanna see any of you in there for first offenses, you know, like that's how you can explain it, like, and then until it's a part of the culture where they all just know automatically, then you can go back to online and stuff, I guess, but, the only other comment that I had on it was just like what kind of bounced up what Kathleen said a bit ago about the community service is like a pre-approved list of ones that you vetted, so that way you know it's legitimate community service. Because otherwise, it'd be like, yeah, I helped out at a farm. And it's like my uncle's farm, and he just signed off my sheet. That's stuff I do all the time, like that sort of thing. So that'd be my only request.
Or if we let them double dip if they do
Yeah.
have other community service that is required.
Yeah.
And take the trouble away from the band member because they're suspended.
Okay.
I know I hammer this, but.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve or for Amanda or anything else on that?
And thank you for, that's,
Yeah.
it's great that we looked at the bigger picture in our community. And that's definitely helpful.
And I like that you had kids incorporated in this committee
Yeah.
that built this, because this came from them. It's their ownership of it. So, but cool. I like it. Anything else? Any other? Okay.
I'll make a motion
yeah.
that we approve the update to the high school athletic handbook.
Okay.
I'll second.
And Kathleen with a second. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed and abstentions. All right. Cool. Thank you very much, Steve, for bringing that to us. All right. Up next.
Tim, could
Oh,
I ask
yes.
you, could you move the enhancing
Yes.
student learning
I'll
agenda
entertain a
item up
motion.
to the top, because we do have Sarah Champagne here.
I know this has been entertaining,
Long
and I know you want to stay
drive.
longer, but yeah, I'll entertain a motion. Does anyone like to move that up on the agenda?
So moved.
All right, Danielle, move to a second.
Second.
All right, this is moving the enhanced student learning through the use of tools and technology grant to the next on the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. All right, it is all yours.
Where do you live?
Meredith.
Oh, well.
And yes, let's.
Rob's got you beat. He's in
I know, are you in Franklin or somewhere?
Manchester.
Oh, Manchester?
Yeah. So I feel ya. Yeah.
Okay.
So is that good or?
Yeah,
good
no, tell
questions?
us about tell us about it.
So a few months ago, we were in a math department meeting with Angel, and she asked us what our hobbies were. And mine is hydroponic gardening. And she said, would you want to teach that in Math Academy? Because it's filled with basic math. And I said, absolutely. So I found this grant through NCTM, and I applied for it, and I got it. It's $3,000. So I'd like to do that next year.
Awesome.
You stopped by my house and helped out in my garden there on the way by. I live in Grafton.
I don't do any soil, only
That's
water.
I'll put the soil down. I'll put the water.
This is so
But
cool.
I'm very, Angel's like, oh, I do it too. I grow some herbs. And I'm like, oh no, I'm large scale.
You're in the next level.
Yeah.
So. Well, that'll be
Huge
fun.
gardens,
I got an
yeah.
acre out
That's
back.
really cool.
So we'll see. It involves a lot of math, like percents and a lot of proportions and ratios and all the stuff we do in Math Academy and, predictions.
you're gonna grow stuff?
statistics. What?
Are you gonna grow stuff
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. In
Awesome.
my classroom.
All right.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
I
see
do
what
it.
the. Yeah.
I do it outdoors.
Okay.
I've never done it indoors, and you have to hand pollinate, so it's a learning curve for all of us.
We have lots of land too, so if you want to set up outside,
Yeah, I got.
find
No,
a
I'm
place, right?
already stocked on that. I got an acre out back.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, make a motion
Yeah.
that we accept the enhancing student learning through the use of tools and
Right.
technology grant in the amount of $3,000 for the high school.
Okay. Yeah, Brewster seconded. Any further discussion? So, Matt, just so I'm clear, Math Academy, is that during the school day, or is that something
Yeah,
that's...
it's
Okay.
a math class for kids who aren't ready for Algebra 1 yet.
Gotcha. Yep.
So it's all our really struggling ones, and so I think doing some hands-on stuff will help enhance what we're doing in class.
Totally. I know that's Angel's a big fan of that type of thing,
Yeah.
so that's really cool to see. So, yeah, I'm super excited.
So it's a math class, but it's not accredited.
It is a credit. They get a credit for it.
Oh, one whole
One,
credit?
one credit. Yep.
Oh, that's even
This-
better.
Yeah, and this is just going to be enhancing that through hydroponics.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do it one day a week. I was talking about maybe Wednesdays,
Cool.
and bringing in. There's other stuff. It's beyond math. Like there's research and looking at different systems, and we're planning on building our own. So getting Rick wants to be involved in helping to build. So we'll see. I have to figure out the water issue, how to not flood my classroom.
That's
But
true. That's
I
true.
promise I won't. But yep.
All right.
All right.
Maybe
And-
we can get the community to help you too, because there is the place over in White River
Oh, yeah.
In Hartford there.
Okay, because I know nothing about this area.
There are
I'm,
2 hydroponics.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah, there's
Are
one in
there-
West Love and there's one in White River.
okay.
That's right.
Yep.
And if we're successful,
Yes.
I was thinking about doing like a Mascoma farmers market that they can set up and like deal with money and stuff and try to sell some stuff
See what they
in
grow.
the school somewhere like during lunch hours or something.
That would be great.
But we have to be able to grow stuff.
Yeah, that's the first step, right?
We'll try.
Cool.
Hydroponics is easy to restart if you fail.
That's true.
So.
That's true. You don't have to worry about soil contaminants and all that. All right. All those in favor of accepting the grant for $3,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions. All right.
All right, good.
This
Thank
time
you.
next year we'll have a
Thank you.
salad. How about
Cheers.
that? That sounds great. That's exciting. Okay. All right. So up next on our agenda, getting back to the top, NHSBA resolutions. This is more of a just on the agenda to see if we have any resolutions that we want to submit. Personally, I did not have any, but the deadline is Friday, July 28th. So if anyone has any ideas,
Did we ever get confirmation about the Medicaid information? Is it
Oh.
actually cut?
yes, that got cut. That was on the front
No, they're
page.
doing a pilot program.
Yes. Oh yeah. I think it was on the front page of yesterday's Valley News.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it got cut down to a pilot program of the 10 neediest towns in the state.
So
And they're
should we work in a resolution
To support.
to
There was
support
one,
it in our public
Yeah.
schools?
there was one
Yeah.
last year.
Okay.
That
To tie
that was
Medicaid.
one that was free lunches. Right, is that what you're talking about?
No, tying the Medicaid to the free and reduced lunch. The
Oh,
thing that tying those two numbers, opening the Medicaid enrollment information so that free and reduced lunch could go both
Could
ways.
talk to each
Could talk to
other.
each other essentially.
Yeah.
And the Senate's concern was that it was going to be way too expensive. They thought it was going to cost the state $100 million.
But it's already costing the school.
It's exactly.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
We're all the same taxpayer.
I know, right?
You know, this
Well,
would
we've
make
got-
it a lot easier.
We've got another 6 weeks or so before we have to submit.
Yeah, we
something,
still have
so
6 weeks to submit.
If we can,
Percolate on that.
yeah.
Yeah, all right, then we can bring something back.
Okay.
Cool, so yeah, I like that idea though. I think
I like that idea,
we can tie something there. All right. Up next, you have in your packet an application for the charter of the Mascoma Writers Guild. You can see, there's no one here to talk about it, right?
No, I just let Steve go, it's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I read through this. So their mission statement is to provide a space for the high school's community of creative writers to build on their skills and experiences in the world of writing by providing practice in various media and genres, feedback from peers, and opportunities to publish both in and out of school. I encourage you to read through this application. It's very well written, as I would hope from the Writers Guild.
Otherwise, that's not saying a lot.
Yeah, that's saying a lot.
Or maybe it says that you really need it.
Yeah, who knows? But I see my own daughter is on this list of officers, so that's good. They have been doing that. That's exciting. So, but yeah, they would like to, hopefully have like a school-wide literary magazine, attend like some writing conferences or hold some creative writing prompts, and just kind of meeting as a way so they can work on their creative writing in a comfortable environment. And so this is cool, and I don't know one of them, but I know 3 of them are freshmen, so that's really a good initiative to see. And this is with Mr. May. So, yeah. Any questions on that?
I think it sounds exciting.
Yeah. And so this is new. It's not stipended yet, but we would look in the future to have that as a official co-curricular stipended club. So
Yeah.
there's a process.
And hopefully, I have 2 hopes. One is that they can perhaps coordinate with the experiencing the arts
Mhm.
stuff, because I know that the literary magazine prompts and everything has been through there in the past, and so maybe that's an opportunity. And also because I don't see that there was a you can't read, like, it
I
has a
only had
signature
no.
for faculty leaders. So like when I was first looking at this in the packet, I was like, okay, but who?
Who?
So I see the students and I see that, but I don't see the faculty sponsor. So who is that? I couldn't read. I
Yeah, maybe
couldn't
this-
read the
There
squiggle.
should
Form.
be names, like it should say name
Correct.
and signature, name
Yeah.
and
And
signature.
also, this
for
is one of
student.
the saddest ones I've ever seen. It's a copy of a copy of a copy, and
I
it's
was
got
gonna
all
say.
those little bloopity blops. And with the state of our technology,
Could do better.
we're above bloopity blops.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have the original.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's student council presidents crossed off and the advisor signed it.
Right.
Should we have So did the student council approve it? Because that's what I would think. That makes sense to have the student council approve a club, because that's the process.
Had been the process.
Okay,
yeah.
so, yeah, we'll use this as an opportunity to look at the process for clubs, so. Anyway, I'll entertain a motion on that then.
Yeah, make a motion that we approve the request to create the Mascoma Raiders Guild Club for the high school.
Okay,
A second.
and Kathleen was second. Do we have any further discussion?
Just that the name, I think, should include the high school.
Mascoma High School
Yeah.
Raiders Guild?
It is just for high school students,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Can't be Raiders.
Yeah.
Say
I think-
Raiders.
Hmm?
Say Raiders, is that what it said, Raiders? Can't be Raiders.
Ryder?
Raiders.
Right, I said Raiders.
Oh.
Oh.
You said Raiders, you said Raiders, didn't you?
No.
I thought you said Raiders, I'll tell you, I think it's
You have a North Country accent.
whatever.
Yes, that's my
Your
my Northern
East
Kingdom
Kingdom
accent.
Oh, whatever, okay.
But yeah, so I think, no, I think it's understood it's at the high school, but yeah, either way, they can do that, so. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions. All right, up next I have, as we do this time of year every year, we would like to grant the authority to the superintendent to hire, so that way she can hire New Hampshire certified budgeted positions. This says from 6/28, so you're good until 6/28?
Yeah, we'll have another meeting on
Yeah.
6/28.
Okay, but then we might skip a July meeting here or there or something, so, or August or whatever, so. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
Make a motion that we approve the superintendent authority to hire as presented.
Okay,
A second.
Kathleen was second. All right, any further discussion on that? As is practice, as she says here, notifications of the hires will be presented to the board at the next scheduled board meeting as has been the practice. But as you saw from the list, there's not a huge list. I mean, it's either a huge list or not a huge list, depending on how you want to look at it, so.
Feel through Sundays.
It shouldn't be too bad. All right. Cool. All those in favor of approving the superintendent's authority to hire for the summer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions. All right.
She needs to go to
That-
Indeed.
Indeed you do.
You need to go to Indeed, they'll get you.
All right. Up next here, we have our school board goals for 23-24 as we worked on at the retreat. And I will just summarize these. We left our vision and mission as the same. School board overarching goal this year will be to roll out and implement our updated strategic plan throughout the district. Finance and facilities updated goals will be identify and expand sustainability initiatives within the district, maintain a high-quality program for facility upkeep and plant operations, monitor, update, and fund the capital improvement plan, and review fiscal policies. EIC will have expand, monitor, and strengthen SEL, social emotional learning curriculum and practices across all grade levels to provide for uninterrupted learning time and better student learning mindsets. Support the staff and programming, making gains and proficiencies at all grade levels through development of engaging instructional practices assessed through performance-based assessments with strong student outcomes. Encourage effective, healthy, and responsible digital, oral, and written communication at all grade levels as demonstrated through students' exhibition of learning to encourage and showcase authentic learning through strong presentation and communication skills. Showcase student experiential learning that extends beyond the classroom through multiple career pathways, and support organizations and groups dedicated to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Negotiations personnel, we do not have a contract this year, but we will still maintain these goals of recruiting and retaining high-quality staff for all positions, and to expand and monitor high-quality professional development for all staff. Communications, continue to develop and foster community involvement, engagement, and support. Integrate student opportunities for communication and expression across all types of media in and outside the classroom. Utilize technology to enhance communications between the SAU and the community, and between building principals and families. And review and refine the committee to reflect changes to technology and other district initiatives. And then co-curricular, partner with student community organizations to develop a cooperative framework for student engagement in co-curricular activities, and create and expand opportunities for current and future student needs and interests, and provide a support structure. So I just wanted to read those publicly, so if you're watching along at home, it wasn't just an abstract document. I think these are pretty solid goals. I thank you all for putting stuff in. Any comments on these? Any questions or anything?
They're just two little typo type things.
Sure.
Number one under EIC, We should put the
That's the
acronym after.
Thank you. Yeah.
First reference, and then co-curricular number 1. I think it's partner with student and community organizations.
That's what I was reading it out loud going, this doesn't
Yeah.
make sense, yeah. Student and community organizations, that makes sense. All right, any other comments on those? I entertain a motion to accept those.
Make a motion that we accept the 2023 to 2024 Mascoma Valley Regional School District goals.
Okay,
Second.
and Kathleen with the second. Any further discussion? No? All right, all those in favor of adopting the goals for the 23-24 school year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions. All right. And then up next is our updated strategic plan. This is included in your packet. This updates quite a bit of what we had worked on in the initial strategic plan. Once COVID kind of sidetracked things, we were able to kind of get back together, retool some things, rework our goals, rework our dates for our goals and things like that. So I'll entertain a motion on that and we can discuss.
Make a motion that we approve the district strategic plan 2023 to 2028.
Second.
And Kathleen a second. All right. Any further discussion on this? As this is-
The superintendent's letter
It's
looks
terrible.
pixelated.
Yeah, who pixelated that?
Well, it's terrible.
And get that from a Nimian wrap?
I think so. I think I had smelled purple down there.
It could be if it was included as an image file,
Yeah.
like a JPEG versus a
We'll-
PNG.
we'll
I mean,
clean
it
that
should
up.
be
Yeah.
a PDF.
But this has a lot of our, I encourage if you're out there in the public, it's on our website. Take a look at it. It's got a lot of really good initiatives. And this is not, it's a to-do list of things we'd like to do. We're going to get them all? No, but are we going to get close? Yeah, that's the goal. So. All right. Any
We'll
further-
continue to review
Yeah.
at the, each year, get
Mhm.
updates on how we're doing and look to make any modifications as need be, so it's a living document.
Yeah, and thanks as always to everybody who helped out with this, the people in the committee and Angel for putting this together, and Mark for putting all this together. You did a great job, I think. So
Yeah. I really appreciate the format this year.
yeah,
Really.
it's a little easier to read, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. All right, any further discussion on strategic plan? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions. All right. Up next, we have on our agenda critical shortage list approval. So you have a handout here. This was a late addition to our agenda. But we are requesting that the school board, Nancy Murphy from Murphy Instructional Support Improvement, LLC, requests that we declare a local critical staffing shortage for the associate principal and for elementary ed. The hiring teams have found it very difficult to find certified candidates for these positions, and we're not alone in this. We have the candidate is willing to complete the site-based learning certification plan. We have a candidate for something?
We do have a candidate for one of the elementary ed positions. It's been pretty interesting that we're having difficulty
Yeah.
filling elementary ed, but we are.
That's interesting, because I thought that was one of the most popular ones.
It always has.
It always has been, so that's really striking. So, good, but that's good. We have someone who's willing to complete, is basically an all four?
That's correct.
Okay,
Same thing.
an all four, so. And in that, to be able to have them do that, the board has to declare a local critical shortage area, so.
And is it for both positions, associate principal and elementary ed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We are finding that we have people applying for the associate principal. I'm anticipating, we may find a certified candidate, but I'm anticipating that we may not, because the majority of people that are applying for that position are not certified, but have some, teaching background or teaching certification. I believe we have 1 5th grade candidate and 0 6th grade applications.
Okay. And elementary ed would cover IRS as well.
That's correct.
And benefit of that. All right. Any other questions on this?
Is the professional development, is it, when they do the all four process, that is done through NASCOMA?
Yes, so what we do is contract out with Nancy Murphy, and she writes a plan for them on how they would, some people it might be get your master's in
Right, do the subject
in
matter.
elementary ed, right? We'll just say that. So that might be their plan, and that might be what they do. But Nancy reviews their transcripts, and potentially they may have taken 7 classes that already would qualify them, so they might have to read a book or go to a workshop, or some of the in-house PD might also work for them. So it's kind of a potpourri depending on what that person's educational background is.
Highly tailored to that
Yeah,
individual.
Nancy does a
That's
really
right.
nice job
All right.
making sure they don't double dip.
Where's the 6th grade class one? Where's the 6th grade teacher one?
What do you-
What school?
IRS.
IRS?
Yeah.
So is there more than one 6th grade at IRS? Is there like 2
Yeah.
classes?
There are 4.
Four 6th grade ones? Is there a way to, if you don't find somebody to split them up?
Probably not.
Well, no, I'm just asking.
Yeah,
See, I
probably
need to ask.
It
I'm
would be
trying
a
to-
lot of kids.
How many
you know.
kids in the 6th grade?
Oh, I think we're running
Is
about
yours fifth?
70.
How
Is
much?
yours 5th
Wait,
grade?
I can't hear it. What?
We're running close to 70, between 70 and 80 off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
So you're starting to get over 20 in a classroom gets.
Oh, no, I just want to know what the numbers
mean,
were.
If we have to, we might have to condense it down to 3.
Hmm.
Is it, is it where I want to be? Not really.
No, is there anybody in the 5th grade that's qualified to be a 6th grade teacher too, or no?
Oh, yeah, they could, but I'm still short a person there.
What's it, what, all right, so where's the numbers? I mean, numbers in 5th, 6th, and 7th. There's nobody that really can drag a classroom, or if you had to split up. I mean, it's a contract problem too. You couldn't,
I mean, I could, oh, it's 21.
I'm just looking at, if you don't find somebody for 6th grade and you're not combining 3 classrooms, but if you have somebody that could take over
My other,
a mixture, because I mean, the example I'm looking at is because Linda Landry, it's a different deal. She handles 3rd and then 4th graders or something like that. She goes along with them, but you got a 6th grade opening and you pull somebody from one side or the other. I don't know what you.
Yeah, right now my numbers are such, so we'll have 70 kids in 5th grade. Well, right now we currently have 70 kids. Next year, let's see, real quick, like in my head, 32 and 37 is what? 69?
It's about the
So
same.
69, 70,
Yeah.
90, and then another 70.
Okay.
So my enrollment is such that we could, ideal class sizes would be 4 sections for each of those classes.
The only thing I was thinking is that, like Linda Landry does, is there an opportunity for a 5th, 6th combined class?
Well, is there,
You know what I
Might
mean?
have to.
Might, you know what I mean?
you couldn't put 25 kids in each, if you had 70 kids, you couldn't go 25, or the maximum, some certain ones? You split up the 3 classrooms,
You could, I mean, that might be what we have to do, is just shrink
just
down.
for 1 year?
Yeah.
You know, split it up to 22 and, 22, 28, or 20, split it up enough for the 7 and 6.
It's easier to do that at 5th or 6th grade, where they're more self-contained.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you got a 6th grade class with 70 kids, you could go to 3 classes.
Yeah.
And just split them up a little for 1 year.
Well, hopefully we won't have to, so. Hopefully we find somebody.
So you're not certified, Tim?
No, I'm not,
Okay.
but I would do an all 4.
What's that?
I would do this, I would do an all 4. Because I don't want to go back to school for another 4 years. All right, anything else on this? Critical shortage. All right, do we have a motion? Yeah, you moved to this, right?
No.
No, all right, I'll entertain a motion on that then. Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve. We declare local critical staff shortages for the positions of associate principal and elementary
Catch those
education.
acronyms. Oh, you get the
Second.
acronyms.
All right, Kathy with a second. All right, any further comment on this one? All right, so all those in favor of declaring a local critical staffing shortage for associate principal and elementary ed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions. All right.
Tim, at this point, we
Yes.
would need to add one more thing
Oh,
to the agenda.
do we have something else?
One last minute item, I was reminded, because of course, lots happens by the time I write my report a week ago and tonight. We are heading into accreditation in a couple years, so we're requesting a approval from the board to write a letter to the trustees of the trust to withdraw about $2,000 to start paying a stipend to a couple of school representatives that will pay this summer.
Mhm.
And that will start. I know we sort of have been contributing to that fund, and eventually we'll take it when it's time to do the accreditation, but we're getting the ball rolling now with a couple of stipended positions. So approval from the board for that would be great.
Okay, so $2,000 for accreditation activities.
How many? 2 people?
2 people,
Yeah.
all right.
The amount is 2,000 that we're approving.
$2,000
Per
total.
stipend.
No, $2,000 total, right?
Yes.
Yeah, $2,000. $2,000.
Total
For right
No.
now. Total
now.
right now.
For right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it again later when we get into the
There
accreditation
will be
process.
more, yes, there will be more down the road.
Yes.
Make a motion that we approve the SAU to,
Withdraw.
I mean, you said draft a letter to
Notify the trustees.
Yeah,
Yes.
there we go.
notify
Request from the trustees.
the trustees of the trust, of the
Yeah.
reaccreditation trust fund, in order to withdraw $2,000 to start with the reaccreditation activities.
Yes. All right, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, so basically we are telling the trustees, asking the trustees of the trust fund to release $2,000 for
But
accreditation.
we're allowing the SAU to do
We're
it.
allowing the SAU to do that, yes, we, the royal we, all of us
royal
here,
we.
all of us in the school district, so.
You should draft it.
All right. Any further discussion on that? And accreditation is happening next year, right?
Yes.
For the year, okay, all right, throughout next
The
year.
year
Yeah.
24,
So-
25.
25.
Oh, so it's a full year out, okay.
So when you get the information on the the trust fund amount, would you please give us the balance after the withdrawal?
Sure.
It's transferred over.
That would
Thank
be
you.
good, thank you, yeah. All right, any further questions or comments on that? All right, all those in favor of the motion to ask, to request the SAU to ask the trustee of the trust fund to release $2,000 for accreditation activities, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions. All righty. So for agenda items for next meeting, we'll have our regular committee reports, we'll have end of year quarterly reports, other fun stuff as it comes, I'm sure more hiring, hopefully.
I will say that for quarterly reports, I'm not gonna require that administrators come, that's,
Yeah.
goes out.
They can pre-record a video if they want. If they really want to pre-record something, they can, but.
You mean,
Yeah.
like Chris or that,
I mean, if you'd like the SAU, actually, I think Chris is on vacation, people are
Yeah,
taking
starting-
vacation that week,
how do
so
we ask a question
you can ask me
during the meeting?
during the meeting, and I will either answer it or find out the information for
All
you.
right. Do you have something?
Put them
The
in an
balance
advisement,
request
tell you
should be
where.
updated at the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, the balance request should be
So we'll
on the
put it
agenda.
on the agenda.
So, yep, balance of trust funds, so. All right. Public comment?
Sure, why
No,
not?
sir, why not?
Just one announcement, which was the New Hampshire Gives. Friends of Mascoma out of the 625 charities came in third in the state. Second in number of donors. So it will be money next year.
Awesome.
Second one is, I read today, there's $250 million out there right now for clean school buses that the
Yes.
feds would like to give
Yes.
people
Yes,
to get away from diesel.
yes.
So,
I can talk to you more about that because I do that work at the.
yeah,
RBC.
well, that's why I kicked it out there. Was
Good.
because we talk about clean energy.
We
Here's a
looked into
chance.
that.
You have to own the buses, don't
The
you?
butler
But-
couldn't do it.
No,
because
they
the
can
buses
now.
were too new. There was a
Rob did
grant.
put in an application for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there was a grant, and that we tried it, and it was because what I heard is that the Butler buses were too new and they didn't qualify for that grant.
Yes.
Yes, but
But that was just the first round, there's gonna be several rounds.
Right, that was the
Yeah.
That is
initial
federal
round.
grant funding.
There's
By
a
the-
second round.
there's gonna be four
Right.
rounds actually. So by the time we hit the last one, some of the buses might be old enough.
It will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to an electric school bus demo last fall at Butler's,
Right.
and that was very neat. I have a lot of questions about them still, especially with the range, because they can only really go 150 miles.
Yep.
So that's a limiting factor. But Butler they're like, we will do applications for it. They told me straight out
Yeah.
there, so.
Well, they're also giving money for the charging stations.
Yes, that is a big part too.
So
Right.
that's big.
Yeah, I was at a Green Your Fleet event at the racetrack on Friday,
Yep.
And they had propane buses there, and I was like, no, thank you.
No,
I'm all set with that. No.
Liquid bombs.
Nope. So,
And then my third one is, and this is just spitballing because I just heard about it, was we're in Canaan, right? Could Canaan hold their election in this building? Like, an obvious room might be where we had the strategic plan thing
The
or
demo.
the goals. It's handicap accessible there. It's a separate entrance, and there's really no other students down there. So I'm wondering if you could give that to them as an alternative.
I wonder how much square footage they need for like how many booths they.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like I don't know what they're.
That's not much bigger than the community building in Enfield.
Yeah.
That's about the same size as the community building in Enfield, that room.
This
where
is
they
not
vote
what the
For
kids
number of
are in.
booths, yeah.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah.
I just can't see
You don't
that.
want it at all with the kids even in the building.
No,
So,
not
yeah.
with security.
Yeah.
I just don't, I mean, that would be my.
Yeah, it is a concern,
Mhm.
because the
Take,
school
we
is
take it under
budgeting.
advisement because we're not supposed to discuss anything that you bring up on the public comment until a further meeting down through. That's why I'm the
Well, I'll
judge.
expect an answer from the
Oh, no.
SAU office next meeting. then.
All right.
What?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Well, it's just a
Yeah,
thought.
investigate all of our options.
Because one of the strategic thing was the community
Yeah.
and.
I'd like to figure
It's
out.
not a formal discussion anyway.
Yeah. So,
Right.
cool. Anything else?
I mean, we
No.
can bring that to finance and facilities.
Yeah, we can chat about it. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll figure out a solution and then present it to them. So. All right. And even though it's not on the reverse of this, it is on the actual full agenda. It just didn't print the second page. So we do have non-public for what hiring and.
Before that, I do
Oh,
have.
you have more? Oh, that one.
Yeah.
See, that's not
Green
on my
one.
flip
Yeah.
sheet.
Yeah.
Is that
It's not on
first?
his computer.
Nominations?
Make a motion that we approve the the nominations
Oh,
and
thank you. Oh, there it
notifications
is.
as presented.
Second,
It's in front of your computer.
Oh, there it is down there.
yeah,
Tim, it's in front of your computer.
Yeah, I know. I see that. I know
He's-
that.
he's looking
I'm
at
looking
the
for it on the
agenda.
agenda. On this one that didn't
Yeah.
copy, it bounced to the second page.
Oh,
No.
we don't want a second page.
No,
It's
no.
too long of a meeting.
All right. There we go. So we have an agenda. We have a motion on the floor to approve these in a second. So, any further discussion? These are mostly all renewals.
Yeah, you do see we have a bunch of renewals there and a couple of transfers that I will point out. Jen Churchill, we have just transferred her to go help with our kids over at the HART program in Hartford, not the CTC program. Moving a Title I tutor over to Canaan Elementary School because we had a retirement there. We have a person coming out of the high needs program at Canaan Elementary School. So we've kind of swapped two paras. One para is going into the high needs, the other para is coming out of that, taking her spot. We do have a mental health clinician candidate currently working on her certification. A student custodian who is going to be a substitute custodian for us. So that will be very helpful. We did hire Bill Loynes as a fifth grade teacher, but he is now getting moved to sixth grade with that resignation. And then you just have a bunch of renewals for coaches and summer school teachers and paraprofessionals.
Okay.
The last part does have a couple of resignations. So the last bottom section, you'll see some resignations.
The only question I had, second to last one of renewals, that should be varsity girls soccer coach, right?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
correct.
I just wanted to double check, just make sure.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Questions? Comments? All right. All those in favor of accepting the nominations and resignations as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions. All right. We're all set with that. We do have non-public for purposes of hiring and
Only hiring.
only hiring. Okay. So entertain a motion.
Before we go into non-public?
Okay.
second,
And Kathleen second. Brewster?
Yeah.
Danielle?
Yes.
Tim? Yes. Kathleen?
yes.
Pope? All right. We are in non-public. Good night, everybody.